Hey everybody, sorry we're upside down here for a second. So this is the mighty mole. So this unit is going to be rather mathy. Today starts off pretty easy and not super mathy, but it is a really basis of understanding. We've got to understand these subjects today in order to get the rest of it. So here's my little mole that's going to haunt your dreams. It's the craziest drawing I've ever seen. But the mighty mole. So a mole, we're not talking about this guy over here. We're not talking about this gentleman, the crazy drawing I had. Not that kind of mole that buries in the ground. We're talking about a mole that's going to be a unit of conversion, an equivalence. Okay, let's look at some equivalences. So here's some equivalences, right? So 1 mile is 5,280 feet. That's just like a fact. 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. It's an equivalence. They're equal to each other. If I walked 5,280 feet and I walked 1 mile, I would end up at the exact same spot. Okay? If I poured 1 cup of water and 8 fluid ounces of water, I'd have the same amount of water. 1 Mr. Burnett is 5 foot 10 inches. So here's an example of something that you might not know. Okay? I made myself a unit, 1 Mr. B. So 2 Mr. B's, if I said, what does 2 Mr. B's equal? Okay, well, it equals 10 feet, 20 inches. Now I know that 20 inches is another foot, but I'm just trying to make a point. It's double, okay? It's double. So in chemistry, we're going to use these other equivalences, these mole equivalences, okay? And we're going to go over them a bit today, but this is really like the basis. There's no math that you need to know for today's lesson. But you really need to understand these things. So 1 mole of an atom equals a certain amount of grams. Now, we're going to go over that next as to what grams. We're going to put X because it'll change based off of the atom. So 1 mole of an atom will make some number of grams of atom will equal 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, or molecules is a better word, molecules of that atom. Molecules. Okay? So 1 mole of an atom is equal to a certain number of grams of that same atom is equal to a certain number of molecules of that atom. It's just like this. Okay? It's just like 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Same idea, just stuff you don't know as well. Now, I keep saying of an atom, of an atom, of an atom. Well, obviously, I'm talking about a specific atom. Okay? So it could be any atom, but we're going to focus on this part first. 1 mole of an atom equals a certain number of grams of an atom. So where do you find that? Well, you find it on the periodic table. Here's a great question. What does 1 mole of lithium weigh? Okay. Well, the first thing I do is I find lithium. Lithium's right here. Okay. So there's lithium. Now, if you don't have a periodic table at home, there's a bajillion online, so you can find it. But lithium essentially looks like this. It's got a 3, it's got an Li, it's got a 6.941. That's what my lithium looks like if I blew it all up. Okay. So how much does 1 mole of lithium weigh? Well, I have the answer. Let me see if I can. This is the answer right here. That's how much 1 mole of lithium weighs. All of these have what's called an AMU, an atomic mass unit, underneath them right here. There it is for silicon, there it is for boron, here it is for chlorine, here it is for fluorine, here it is for iron. I think we do gold today, so let's find gold. There it is for gold. There it is for oxygen. Here it is for helium. Here it is for vanadium. Here it is for potassium. Okay. So what does 1 mole of lithium weigh? It weighs that bottom number. It equals 6.941. Is equal to 1 mole of lithium. Okay. Now this has a unit on it. It's an atomic mass unit, AMU, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, let's try a few more. Okay. So what does 1 mole of oxygen weigh? Well, got to find oxygen. here's oxygen. It looks like this. It's got an 8, an O, and a 15.99, just in case you can't see it. 999. That's what this looks like. And I know it's this bottom number. 1 mole of oxygen is equal to 15.999 AMUs of oxygen. Okay, see, this is pretty simple. Really the backbone of your understanding for this unit. All right, last one, gold. And this time I'm not going to blow it up. I'm just going to hope you understand. Okay, I find this lower number right here. Okay, so 1 mole of gold, which is AU, is equal to that bottom number, 196.967 grams of gold. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going with grams. I put AMUs on the last one because we do need to talk about atomic mass units, but grams. Okay. So now let's talk about this second one, this piece right here. So now we have this, 1 mole of an atom, so 1 mole of gold or lithium or oxygen, which you just did, is equal to the grams of that atom. And once again, you find the grams by looking at this thing right here, 15.99. Okay, so 1 mole of an atom is equal to a certain number of grams of the atom. Well, what if I go like this? That's what we're going to focus on now. 1 mole of an atom is equal to how many molecules of that atom? Okay? And this is why we need to have this number memorized. Okay? This number is how many molecules are in 1 mole. So here's what I kind of want to show you. So here I have some copper, okay? So I have some copper. If I tell you, okay, I want you to count all the pieces of copper in here, okay? So you pour it out and you start saying, okay, 1 piece of copper, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 pieces of copper. I got a long ways to go. It's going to be really hard to count these because they're so small. Well, that's what we're using this number for. So molecules, like, I don't know, for example, water, it's H2O. Water is incredibly small, okay? Very, very small. So if you're counting the number of water molecules in something, you could never do it. 1 droplet of water would take you a lifetime to count. Okay? But instead of a water molecule, we're just going to count something like hydrogen. And instead of counting a hydrogen atom one at a time, we know through Avogadro's number in his work that 6.022 times 10 to the third hydrogen atoms are in 1 mole. So let's give it a practice. It works a little bit better in practice. Okay. So how many atoms are in 1 mole of lithium? Well, I find lithium right here. Okay. How many atoms are in 1 mole of lithium? Well, 1 mole of lithium is equal to 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of lithium. Okay, I'm not going to explain it yet. I'm going to do 2 more because I want you to see what I'm putting down here. Okay, well, there's oxygen. How many atoms are in 1 mole of oxygen? I should say molecules. Atoms are molecules. Well, I have 1 mole of oxygen, if that's what I already have, and I want to know the number of molecules of oxygen. Okay, just like this, where I'm not going to count every individual oxygen atom. That would be crazy. I already know that 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. Weird, did you notice the similarity between the moles of oxygen atoms and the moles of lithium atoms? They're the same. They're the same number. Well, if I took For example, the weight is going to be different between the two, right? So the weight of lithium is 6.941. The weight of oxygen is 15.99. Well, the number of molecules in 1 mole is this, and the number of molecules in 1 mole is this. Okay? We're going to use this later, so don't be too confused about the why right now. I just want you to look at the how. So here we go again. 1 mole of gold, Au, is equal to 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of Au. Okay, so the problem really comes when we have to start this other step where we're going from grams to moles, or grams to atoms and molecules, or molecules to grams and atoms. That's where it gets hard because we're going to have to use this intermediate step of the mole. But that's why the mole is so mighty. It's going to allow us to shift between different molecules and atoms.